Alright, now when we talk about budget smart watches, we usually think about fitness trackers that are disguised in the form of a smartwatch. I mean, let's be honest about them. Most of the budget smartwatches are just glorified fitness trackers, and even glorifying would be a wrong term to use because they're just not that good. You have lags, it's so sluggish, and the whole interface just feels very bad. The design feels super cheap, and I mean, already you can see why I don't like to review budget smartwatches, because they're just not good, and I'm very critical about certain products, which is why I outrightly refuse to review most budget smartwatches. But this time around, Realme literally pushed me. They're like, bro, you have to check it out, and if you find any fault with it, just be blunt about it. And this thing right here is the Realme Watch 3 Pro. Genuinely, I'm surprised that this thing is available for just 5,000, or actually on sale for 4.5k, because it's a very good watch. And why do I say that? Well, let's just watch my in-depth review of the Realme Watch 3 Pro. Let's get started. Alright, so first things first, let's start by talking about the design here. Outrightly, the Watch 3 Pro looks quite good and much better than most of the options in the price segment. Now, the chrome finish on the side bezels definitely looks super cheap up close, but from a distance, it genuinely looks much more premium. Also, the watch is super lightweight at just 40 grams, which makes you forget that you're even wearing it. Now, we have the grey color variant with us, which personally I have found to be a bit more refreshing and quite smart. But of course, there's the classic black option available too, if you're interested. Now, the watch comes with a 22 quick release wrist strap, which means that you can also use custom straps with it quite easily. As for the one that Realme provides, like I said, it's quite comfortable and I had zero issues with it. Now, moving on to the display, this is clearly a big USP for this watch. Now, the Realme Watch 3 Pro comes with a 1.78-inch AMOLED panel with a peak brightness of 500 nits. Like, for real, the display makes a lot of difference, especially when you're using it outdoors. It's responsive, the colors are vibrant, and the text definitely looks sharp on it. The brightness levels themselves are quite adequate too, and can easily be toggled using the quick settings. Now, one slight issue that I personally had is that there's no auto brightness sensor here. You have to manually switch between steps of 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. The good part here, however, is that you get a very good always-on display. You can choose between having a digital or an analog always-on display, and both look quite smart, which is a good time to talk about watch faces as well. So Realme says that this thing comes with over 100 watch faces, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of a lot of them. Now, I'll be honest, most of the watch faces are just a ripoff from Apple's watches or Samsung's Galaxy watches. But then again, it's fine for most users, especially when you consider the price tag. And the good part here is that regardless of whichever watch face you go with, they actually do end up looking good on the Realme Watch 3 Pro. And at the end of the day, that is what matters. Alright, so speaking of the app, well, see, the Realme Link app in itself isn't the best app out there. I've noticed multiple sync issues, and while the pairing process is easier, like I said, there is sync issues, and the app in itself is sluggish and at times just crashes downrightly. With that being said, there is a very positive side to it, because once the data has been synced, the data is quite accurate and is presented in a nice manner that should appeal to all sorts of users, whether you're just a beginner who's using a smartwatch or even an advanced user. Alright, so the app in itself, like I said, while it shows the data very well, in itself is a little bit sluggish. Thankfully, that's not the case when it comes to the watch in itself, because that is one area where I've had the most complaints with all of those budget smartwatches. They're so sluggish to use, the animations are so slow, the interface in itself feels very, well, lackluster. With the Realme Watch 3 Pro, I genuinely have zero complaints when it comes to the UI and the user experience altogether. Like, seriously, in my testing, I have legit not noticed any lags whatsoever. The UI is not only very smooth, but quite responsive as well. Now, you can swipe between your favorite tiles or press the button to open up the app drawer, which itself can be viewed as a grid or a list. Now, talking about the performance of the watch itself, the tracking has been pretty much spot on too. The heart rate and the SpO2 tracking are quite comparable to standard machines, and the sleep tracking is quite detailed as well. Another plus point is that the watch does manage to keep a track of your daytime naps as well. For fitness folks, while I don't work out that much, the basic step tracking works pretty well, and the watch does a good job of eliminating ghost steps. What's more is that it also comes with savvy sports algorithms that can automatically identify the kind of workout or sports activity that you're performing and give a detailed overview of things such as distance, calories burned, average heart rate, etc. Speaking of outdoor activities, one big USP of this watch is that it comes with a built-in GPS support. Also, since it uses 5 GNSS satellites, the GPS lock in itself wasn't just quick but also quite accurate, and in my testing I had zero complaints with it. Add to that there's support for Google Fit integration as well, but you do miss out on Strava. Secondly, another big USP of this watch is the fact that it comes with support for Bluetooth calling. Now that personally matters a lot to me. Not because I take a lot of calls on my watch, but it definitely comes in handy in one of those emergency situations where you just don't want to take the phone out of your pocket, or in some cases you can't because your hands are occupied. Now as for the quality in itself, the speakers here aren't amazing by any means. Let's be clear about it. I don't want to sugarcoat things. They're not amazing, but yeah, if you just put your hand close to yourself, it does get the job done. As for the microphone quality, well, here's a sample for you guys to judge for yourself.
Hey bro, I'm outside right now and this is just a mic check of how basically the Realme Watch 3 Pro sounds like. You get an idea of the basic sort of noise cancellation because there's some slight construction work going on, but otherwise I think the watch definitely gets the job done. Of course, this is me recording at a distance right now. This is me actually speaking at the ideal distance. So you can notice the difference in terms of the mic volume per se. Yes.
Lastly, there's the battery life. Now, I was testing this watch with the always on display on and 24-hour heart rate tracking. Now, in that scenario, the watch itself lasted me over 8 days, which is pretty stellar. You also get a magnetic charger inside the box that takes a little under 2 hours to juice it up from 0 to 100%. But personally, I generally don't care about the charging times because the battery life more than makes up for it. So, the big question, is the Realme Watch 3 Pro worth it? Well, for a price tag of Rs 5,000, which is even excluding all of the discounts, I would say it's worth every buck. Like, seriously. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was using the Oppo watch before this, which is a premium Wear OS watch. Of course, it does not come with LTE functionality, so I'm still restricted to Bluetooth calling on that anyway. But yeah, it does get the job done. Now, the only thing that I miss from using the Oppo watch to this is the fact that you can't really reply to notifications. And of course, the lack of a ambient sensor, so I have to set brightness manually. But apart from those two things, the Realme Watch 3 Pro has me hooked on, and I don't really care to switch back to the Oppo watch. And that's genuinely saying something. And yeah, for anyone who's been watching my videos and who knows how critical I am, I genuinely do not like a product this much because I'm used to nitpicking as well. But for a price tag of Rs 5,000, I genuinely don't mind recommending the Realme Watch 3 Pro to anyone out there. Well, that was it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is One from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.